What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. You can find me on Twitter at @A_Cuesta30. You can find also me on Instagram at that same exact tag. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30, and also visit the Facebook page to get all of our wonderful, wonderful content. I was supposed to have a guest this week, but it's my fault that Friday got messed up, our normal recording date, and he was busy this weekend. It was supposed to be Luis Rosado. I will have him again soon. My sincere apologies to him. And I also did put out a blast on Twitter, on the Sports Opinions Twitter, that there wasn't going to be an episode this week. But surprise, here's one, because there was a lot that went on this week, and I feel like it would be unfair to not at least give a little bit of something. So this is going to be probably, hopefully, pretty quick podcast, because, fun fact, I'm also doing this while my daughter naps and my wife is at work. So really taking a risk here. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to jump into things quickly. We're going to start off with the NFL and football. It was a big football week in terms of moves, and then college football. And also I'm going to talk a little bit about baseball and how it's just generally been forgotten. But we're going to start off quickly. First, NFL deals this week were massive. There were some pretty big deals. It was real speculation on if and when the Giants were going to get things done with Odell Beckham Jr. The man has been a model citizen after his incident over with the whole entire possible cocaine and partying and all that. He's been a model citizen and has been showing that he can be a leader on the team away from the field as well, and kind of curtail his antics and act more like a pro. And he's definitely shown that, and the Giants rewarded him greatly. They signed him to a 5-year, $95 million deal with $65 million guaranteed. That makes him the highest paid wide receiver in football over the Julio Joneses, A.J. Greens, Antonio Browns, and other great wide receivers. So it's a pretty big deal for him, big deal for the Giants. They lock him down. They get him for the next at least 4 years, because in the 5th year, the final year, there's always that possibility of extension. But it is a solid deal. I hear people downplaying this deal because they're not big fans of Beckham. They think Jones is better. They think Brown is better, and that's fine. But the Giants don't have Jones. They don't have Julio Jones. They don't have Antonio Brown. What they have is Odell Beckham Jr., who is on their level in terms of talent. He's a generational talent. Paying the man isn't a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. You lock up this guy. The only issue with these mega deals and these mega contracts, and you see it all the time, you give these position players, you give any player this huge mega deal that, granted, they deserve. The market definitely dictates what they deserve. But then come year 3 of the deal, 4 of the deal, whatever it is, they can't sign the type of players that they need to sign. And yes, you look at the Giants. Eli's older. They just picked Saquon Barkley. They're in win-now mode. That defense is still an expensive defense. So they're signing Odell Beckham to this mega deal in hopes that they can win now with him. And if they can, that'll be a big deal. The next 2 years are Super Bowl or bust for this Giants team. And that's just a reality. Because like I said, come year 3, 4, 5, this deal might come back to bite them in the ass. And they're going to be hamstrung, especially later in the deal when Saquon Barkley is up to be signed. And if he's the player that everyone thinks he's going to be, then he's a game changer. He's a team changer. He'll be the same level as Odell Beckham, if not greater. So let's see what the Giants do, but I have no issue at all with this deal. Like I said, I heard naysayers there, but this deal was good. The Giants, this deal he had to do. He showed that he could be the guy. He showed he's healthy from his injury, and if he can get back to the level he was, the 12 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns a year, over 1,200 yards a year, he's going to be explosive for this offense and this team that's ready to explode with a lot of weapons. So that's a good deal. The other deal that was made the day after, overshadowing Odell Beckham, which might have pissed him off a little bit because he's a showy guy, but the Green Bay Packers signed Aaron Rodgers to the richest deal in the history of football. They made him the highest paid quarterback ever, which, if you look at his talent level, I think it's universally agreed that while Tom Brady might be the greatest quarterback in history, arguably, Aaron Rodgers currently the best quarterback in the game in terms of talent. He signed a 4-year, $134 million extension with $98.7 million guaranteed. That's ridiculous in NFL terms. We're used to hearing this type of stuff in basketball and in baseball, But the NFL is getting there. And these guys, all these guys, and I'll talk about another deal that happened after a trade, all these guys should be giving Kirk Cousins a call and thanking Kirk Cousins. Because if it wasn't for him getting a fully guaranteed mega contract, none of these guys would be getting all of this guaranteed money that is basically well over half of what they're making. And that was never seen that way. They usually just did the signing bonus as the guaranteed money and then maybe trickled in a little more, but that was it. Now we're seeing these massive guarantees where the Packers are now going to be on the bill for at least $100 million within the next 4 years. That's minimum $25 million a year. That's a lot of cap space. Now, Aaron Rodgers, is he worth it? Absolutely, because he dictates more of what goes on the field. Where Odell Beckham is reliant on somebody throwing him the ball, Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, is the most important position in football, and it's what makes the team tick. It's what makes the team go. So his decision-making on that field ultimately dictates how well that team does. Obviously, he needs an offensive line, but Aaron Rodgers is a mobile dude. So we've seen him escape out the pocket and make some great plays. So for him, this is well worth it. It's well-deserved because he is the best quarterback in football and arguably the best player in football along with that. So hats off to Aaron Rodgers. Olivia Munn is definitely kicking herself in the ass that she's not with you. And Danica Patrick is super happy because she is. Onto deals, trades. My New York Jets made a trade that I've been in a debate with my family, and I'm assuming I'm going to be in a debate with other Jets fans on how good it is. But they traded Teddy Bridgewater, which was the flyer that they took. They signed him to a lower deal, which they would have to guarantee as a higher deal if he made the roster. But they only paid him $500,000 so far, and they sent him over to the Saints for a third-round pick. They sent over Bridgewater and a sixth-round pick to get a third-round pick. Now, I've heard gripes from Jets fans saying that that's too low of a number, too low of a round. They could have held on to him and gotten him a higher pick. Maybe. But if you were planning on starting Sam Darnold like the Jets are, no, you're not going to get higher. I know quarterbacks get hurt. I know teams get desperate. But if you don't know what this guy is, if you're going off a preseason against a bunch of number 2s, 3s, and guys that aren't making a 53-man roster, and yeah, he looks good. Don't get me wrong. Bridgewater looked great. But it doesn't make a difference. You have no idea what he's going to be against ones in game action. Nobody does. Just because he looked good in the preseason means jack. Yes, it was nice he looked healthy. Yes, it was nice he was mobile. He took a few hits. He was able to get zip on the ball. That's all well and dandy. But the first thing is you have no idea what he's going to be. So teams, yeah, they get desperate. And I know everyone references Sam Bradford. They got like a first and a fourth, a first and a third. Yeah, but Sam Bradford was injured. None of his injuries were career-threatening like Bridgewater's. Bridgewater's was severe, took him 2 years off the field. Yes, Sam Bradford is often injured. But Sam Bradford was also a first overall pick and has shown that his talent level with his arm can win a lot of games. He's a very talented guy. More talented than Bridgewater. Easily more talented than Teddy Bridgewater. Again, Teddy's 25 and we don't know, but at this point in their careers, Sam Bradford is still the better quarterback, even though he's injury prone. So I don't want to hear that, oh, the Jets might have gotten a Sam Bradford haul. Hell no. Hell no. Nobody knows how fragile this dude still is. He took a few hits in preseason from guys who probably won't even be there. Pump the brakes. And second off, and the biggest is, why keep a 25-year-old potential starter in the NFL sitting behind your 21-year-old future, putting unnecessary pressure on him? It's not necessary. Jets fans are stupid sometimes. If Darnold comes out, and we have 3 winnable games out the gates, I think it's Lions, Browns, and somebody else, maybe Miami. 3 winnable games out the gate. If Darnold goes 0-3 and goes through growing pains like a rookie probably will, idiot Jets fans will be clamoring to put Bridgewater and be grilling Bowles because Bridgewater is not playing. He's only 25. Why don't we let him play? We can go playoffs. Our defense is good. All this crap we're going to hear. This takes away all of that pressure. And this is also a sign that Bowles' job is not on the line this year. He can lose a lot of games with a rookie and still be okay. That's what that tells me from the ownership and from the GM. That Bowles' job is not on the line. So getting rid of Bridgewater is a smart deal at this point because, again, he wasn't going to play in the regular season. You were never going to see him in the regular season. Darnold was going to start. Darnold was going to play, barring injury. And you're paying Josh McCown a boatload of money. There's no way you're just going to make this guy an afterthought or carry 3 quarterbacks when that spot could be given to a depth player on defense or offense, or the offensive line depth, which is atrocious. So if you look at it from a smart GM's perspective, a third-round pick is not bad. It's not bad. That is a foundational type of guy. You get good players from the third round. So griping that it's too low of a pick, having fantasies that we could have possibly gotten a first or even a second, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And if we did get a first or a second, it would be from a really good contending team that thinks they have Super Bowl prospects or real playoff prospects. Granted, the Saints are probably going to make the playoffs or be a good team, but the other team is probably going to be in the top 10 somewhere. I don't know if the Saints are that good to get there. So this whole entire fantasy that we could have held on and gotten better, if you know anything about football, you know that's not true. And that I think McCagan got good value at the time to take pressure off Sam Darnold, let him prepare for week one without any pressures behind him of, is this guy going to breathe down my neck? Are fans going to clamor for him? Am I going to have to listen to the fan and ESPN New York going nuts the fact that a 25-year-old sitting behind me not starting? So, no. Is it a great deal? Is it the best deal of the year? Without a doubt, no. But it is a deal that is a smart one to make everyone's jobs in that place easier, including all the coaches. Yeah. And also, it allows the line to get some camaraderie behind the guy that's going to be their quarterback. The line right now has no chemistry. There's a lot of injuries. But the one thing they do know now is Sam Darnold is their starter, so they can prep for his style. All the linemen can prep for exactly his style and get to know him. So there's a lot of value to getting Bridgewater out of that locker room now. I have nothing against Teddy Bridgewater. I really hope he has success. He's going to be a backup and possibly the heir apparent to Drew Brees when Drew Brees walks away in New Orleans. So good for him. And I hope he does recover, and I hope he does play great. But people naysaying this move is just a typical Jets fan move. Whatever the Jets do, it's always negative. And there's a reason why a lot of Jets fans are Mets fans, because they're a bunch of naysayers. So I have no problem with the move. Is it the greatest move of all time? No. But is it as bad of a move as people are making it out to be? No as well. The other move that happened, the Jets were in pursuit of one Khalil Mack from the Oakland Raiders, and they ultimately missed out because the asking price was far too high from the Raiders. John Gruden, who is basically running the show down in Oakland for the next 10 years now, making the GM basically unnecessary there, he pulled the trigger and wanted 2 first-round picks at least and got them from the Chicago Bears. The Raiders are getting first-round picks in 2019 and 2020, getting a 2020 third-round pick and a 2019 sixth-round pick to give away Mack. That's a haul. People are flipping out that Gruden's getting rid of Mack. Newsflash, he entered in with an awful defense. That secondary is atrocious. Getting 10 sacks from Khalil Mack isn't really going to win you that many more games. Building for the future is what's going to win. Gruden realizes he's got a 10-year job, so he's looking for the long haul to build the team. Is this going to affect Derek Carr negatively, knowing that another weapon isn't off the defense and he's going to have to press even more? Yeah. But let's not forget that John Gruden is an offensive dude. He's going to keep Derek Carr very level-headed and hopefully get him back to the caliber he was 2 years ago and get Amari Cooper to start getting separation again and helping this dude out. And they also picked up Martavius Bryant from the Steelers, who hasn't been doing a good job apparently in camp, but if he gets right, that's a weapon. So let's stop going nuts about Gruden. People on Twitter I saw going crazy about Gruden and doing this, and he's going to be out. It's a deal, blah, blah, blah. No. They got a haul. They did send out a decent amount, though. They sent out Khalil Mack to the Bears. They sent him a 2020 second-round pick and a conditional 2020 fifth-round pick, which in the overall is not a terrible thing because in 2020 they're getting back a first and a third from a Bears team who's probably not going to be very good. They might not be very good for the next 2 years. Khalil Mack's going to help that defense. And hopefully Mitchell Trubisky, Howard, they grow a little more. You have Kevin White over there who can play. But you still don't know what's going to go on with the Bears. So overall, the Raiders are looking to make some noise in the AFC, and the Bears are still years away from being a good team in the NFC. So it benefits both because the Bears get a really good player, and the Bears get some picks back from it, and the Raiders get a haul of picks that they can build for the future with 2 first-rounders without giving up any first-rounders of their own. So they're going to have 2 first-round picks next year and 2 first-round picks the year after that. It's not a bad deal in my eyes. People are killing Gruden for this. Stop it. Look at the deal overall. if the Raiders are decent this year and then can get two more good guys, and say the Bears are bad, they're going to get a high first-round pick and then a middle-of-the-rung first-round pick for each of the 2 years. That's smart play by Gruden. And let's wait and see what the guy does before we crucify him or crown him. So let's just start there. The Bears also made a splash because they made commitment to Khalil Mack. They signed him for a 6-year extension, $141 million with $90 million guaranteed, making him the richest defensive player of all time. Does he deserve the richest defensive player of all time title? Probably not. He's an impact player, a good player. Don't think he's better than J.J. Watt or Aaron Donald. But he's a very good player, and the Bears made a commitment to him. It's going to put him in a tricky spot because if Mitchell Trubisky really grows, they're going to have to also throw money at him. And then there's Howard, and they're going to also have to throw money at him. And then there's White, and they're going to have to throw. And there's a lot of money to be thrown around. But right now, they made a move to lock up a foundational guy on defense, and then they'll handle the rest as it comes. So overall, I think both trades that happened were mutually beneficial for all 4 teams involved. So kudos to all of them. They were big trades, big moves. The NFL made big moves this week. And we're 1 week closer to NFL football when it starts on Thursday, so I'm excited. But this week, we got our first taste of football. Thank God it's back. College football has begun in earnest. We have week 1. We had a lot of big top 25 games. And I'm just going to run down a few of them that intrigued me. First off, Michigan State was in trouble against a Utah State team that should not have even sniffed them. They walked away with a 38-31 win, and oof, was it scary. Was it scary? The number 11 team in the nation almost lost to Utah State. They got work to do. They really do, because in the Big Ten, that's going to be tough. You can't play that way against a team that you were supposed to roll over. I don't know how much money you think Michigan State paid Utah State to come, and Utah State gave them all that money's worth, probably a lot more. They were supposed to be a rollover team, and they weren't. Moving on to poor Texas. Texas getting kicked while they are down. They end up losing. Where are they here? They end up losing to Maryland, number 23 Texas. Loses to Maryland, which is usually either a low bottom dweller in the Big Ten, 34-29. Can this Texas whole entire program get any lower than it is right now? There are going to be heads rolling in Texas because that is their team. That is their sport, is football. And for them to be getting embarrassed like this, it's sad. I feel like they got that ranking just off of charity because of who they are, but they are far below the top 25 if that's the way they're going to play. It's scary. Another scary one, the upset-minded Appalachian State was looking to do it again. Took Penn State, who has probably college football playoff aspirations. They have a Heisman hopeful in Trace McSorley. Took them to the wire, getting them to overtime. They were winning. They scored 28 points in the fourth, and they were beating Penn State, the Nittany Lions, the mighty Penn State, beating them. It took Penn State overtime to win the game, 45-38. But God, that has to be scary if you're Penn State. They need to buck up because, again, they're like Michigan State. The Big Ten is deep. Even the bad teams are pretty deep. They really, 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 really need to buck up there and play like the team that they can be. No, the biggest game of the week so far was Auburn and Washington. It lived up to the hype. Jake Browning played like a psycho. He played like the Heisman hopeful he is. I don't think this loss is going to affect him. They only put up 16 points, Washington. They lost to a very good Auburn team who beat them 21-16. Auburn's a good team. They have Cam Martin, who's a good running back. Yeah, he only ran for 80 yards, but he's a pretty damn good running back. And Auburn's a good SEC team. We know the SEC's tough. We know the Pac-12 isn't very deep or strong. They're not as strong as they used to be. But Washington will drop down lower from number 6, but I don't think they drop out of the college football playoff conversation. If they win out, they still have a chance of getting back in because Jake Browning's the real deal. He's an NFL prospect, and I can't see him allowing them to fall much lower than right here. I could definitely see Washington going undefeated the rest of the season, which they need to do now if they want to keep keep their college football playoff hopes alive. UNLV gave USC all that they could handle. They played them tough for mostly 4 quarters. USC woke up in the fourth, scored 24 points in the fourth, but going into halftime, it was 14-19 USC was leading. The number 15 USC Trojans, who every year lately we hear USC's ready to come back. USC's ready to come back. USC's ready to come back. And then we see them play, and it's like, they're good, but. They're good, but. And the Pac-12 is weak. The Pac-12 is very weak right now. So for USC to not be putting their foot on the throat, and especially now with the Washington loss, USC needs to step it up. And only beating UNLV, the final score was 43-21, but that wasn't the game. The game was very tight, and UNLV could have ended up upsetting them. They didn't, thankfully, for USC, but it was scary. Notre Dame and Michigan, a big rivalry game right out week 1, which I'm actually really in favor of. Notre Dame came out dominating. They were up 21-10 by the half. It looked like they were going to run away with it. 24-10 going into the fourth quarter. Michigan scores a touchdown, makes it interesting, but they end up holding them off 24-17 in South Bend. Shea Patterson looked pretty good as a transfer. He had some jitters. It looked like it early. Michigan made a lot of mistakes. Michigan shot themselves in the foot. They could have beaten Notre Dame. Notre Dame sitting at 12, Michigan sitting at 14. Notre Dame didn't impress me. They didn't trounce Michigan probably like they should have. I think Michigan overall was a deeper, better team. They were getting their asses kicked in the first half, but hung in there and could have very well ended up winning this game. So I'm not that low on Michigan. I made a prediction that Michigan would find their way into the college football playoff. One loss to Notre Dame doesn't damn them, hurts them. But this was a good start for their transfer, Shea Patterson, and now they just need to focus on winning the rest of the season, which they can do, but it's going to be tough. I'm going to talk about a few teams that probably nobody cares about now but me. Rutgers gets a win over Texas State. They paid Texas State to come there. They better have won to highpoint.com's arena, stadium, whatever the hell it is now. It was High Point Solution Stadium. They just changed it. But the home of college football got another win. Chris Ash starts 3-0 in his career off opening days. The score was 35-7. They dominated Texas State every single way. True freshman, Art Sitkowski looked the part overall. He threw 3 interceptions, threw off his back foot a few times, threw some passes he shouldn't, but moved the ball really well. I think he was 20 of 29. Played pretty well overall for being a true freshman. Is this going to fly against Ohio State next week? No, we're going to see some growing pains. He's probably going to throw 3 or 4 more interceptions and struggle against a super high caliber Ohio State team that is pissed off that their head coach is suspended and not there. And they also have a defensive guru in Greg Schiano there that is going to show things to Art Sitkowski that he's never seen before. So next week might be a struggle for Rutgers, but it's good growing pains, and overall, they got a win. They got a nice 35-7 win. The defense looked good. They have 4 really good players in the secondary, some good defensive linemen. They're going to battle with Ohio State for maybe a quarter or 2, but I think Ohio State's overall talent's going to take over next week. Another team that only I really care about, and a few people may be listening, the Marist Red Foxes got their asses kicked by the Georgetown Hoyas and their home opener. It was embarrassing, 39-14. I didn't get to watch the game. I looked at the box score, and the one thing I got out of it is if your quarterback can't pass, then you're not going to win games. If you can't trust your quarterback to throw the ball 30 times through the air, it's not going to happen. I don't care what level of football you're at, unless you're running the most exotic rush offense of all time, which I know Marist does not. If you're just a power running team with a quarterback that you can't rely on, you're screwed. And if the indication of the box score is anything, it just tells me that Marist doesn't trust their quarterback. And that's going to be a struggle for the Red Foxes all year. Georgetown's a team that they should have probably competed against at least. 39-14 shouldn't happen. But it did happen. They got dominated. And on to the next one next week. Looking forward to tonight's game. It's Sunday, September 2nd. Looking forward to tonight's game. Number 8 Miami versus number 25 LSU. This is a big matchup for Miami because they're another team that we're hearing for years. They're on their way back. We'll find out. LSU's an SEC team. They're fast. Their defense is furious. They are usually a pretty good team. They get top recruits all the time. So we'll see. Miami's traveling over to LSU. They'll be in the swamp over there. So yeah, right in the bayou. If they can come off and look impressive against LSU in a night game, it'll be fun. They're over in AT&T Stadium at a neutral site in Texas. I lied. They weren't in the bayou. See, I got to look. I got to read better. But they're over in a neutral site in Texas. LSU's technically the home team. But if Miami can walk away looking good, it's going to go far for them because they're sitting with that number 8 ranking. And they're probably a team with college football playoff aspirations as well. And the final game of the week tomorrow night, Florida State, a team I really like, is playing Virginia Tech, number 19 versus number 20. Virginia Tech always gives this team fits. They're not a bad team. And Florida State has DeAndre Francois. And DeAndre Francois needs to come back from his injury early last year and show quickly that he can be the player that everyone thought he was going to be following up Jameis Winston. So that rounds out college football. Oh, and one last thing with college football. I think week 1 should be a rivalry week as well. I think we should stop having cream puff games in week 1, and it should be rivalry games. I think it would be awesome if right out the gate, I think Notre Dame, Michigan was fantastic. That's the way it should be. You should play a rival week 1 and get everyone amped up for the first week in college football. College football needs to consider that. No more cream puffs in week 1. Rivalries. Get it, make it fun. Every school has at least 2 or 3 teams that they get up for, and I think that's the way that they should go. So I'm calling for that. Rivalry week, week 1, and then another one at the end of the year. That would be an absolute blast. Now, talking a little bit now about baseball, and what a weird time we are in baseball now. Weird time. It's September. We're about a month away from playoffs. The races are coming down in each division. It should be fun. Everyone should be glued to baseball. But they're not. They're not. Football takes away. Football takes away a lot. The fact that college football is back and deals are being made and fantasy's ramping up, people, unless you're a diehard baseball fan, no one's paying attention. No one's watching. We're not going to focus on baseball again until probably the wild card game or the last week of the year. That's when we'll start to focus on it. Besides that, the races are going to come and go. There'll be blips on SportsCenter. People will look at the box scores on their phone, check it. But no one's really going nuts because football is back. College ball's back. NFL starts next week. We're not going to pay attention to baseball up until about end of September, which is a shame because there's lots of good races going on. The Yankees and Red Sox are still going at it. Athletics and Mariners are still going at it with the Astros being there. And it's a lot going on in the AL. The NL, the Dodgers are still there. The Mets are still terrible. There's a lot going on. But you wouldn't know. Most fans wouldn't know unless you're a diehard baseball fan because football is back and football is king. I know that one was quick, but it was just a little something because I feel like the people that actually do listen do deserve to get something weekly. So this was the Sports Opinions podcast. Rounded it up. Hopefully I gave you guys some good information. Good opinions there. I know I didn't have a guest, which we're used to. Sorry about that. Next week, I will be live for an hour. So if you want any questions, go get a Spreaker account so you can listen live. Again, I'm Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter at @A_Cuesta30. Also there on Instagram. Find Sports Opinions at Twitter at SportsOpinion30 and on the Facebook page. And if you're listening, as always, thank you. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spreaker, Google Play Music, or Amazon Podcasts. Once again, this was the Sports Opinions Podcast. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.